It's time for Free Range Radio, where we graze on wild ideas. Here's your host for Free Range, Gail of Gaia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range Radio, and we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests. And I have a very wonderful guest today who is very unusual, does very unusual things, and her name is Debbie Ziegelmeyer, and I hope I said that correctly. I should have asked you that. But anyway, let me bring Debbie on.
Hi, you got the name right.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure. I should have asked you before we started, but anyway, good.
Good German name.
Well, let me read a little bit about you to the listening audience. Debbie has joined MUFON in 2000. Is that how you say that one? MUFON.
Yes, MUFON.
Mutual
yes.
UFO Network, right?
Correct.
Okay. I wasn't sure at first. When I first saw that. I know I've seen it before, but I've not been a big investigator in this area, or reader or researcher either. So it's fascinating. But I've seen them. Okay. So you joined in 2000 and became a field investigator shortly after. She's currently a STAR team investigator for MUFON and Missouri State Director, and she's on a whole bunch of positions that are awesome. Really, I mean, wow. But also, she has been on podcast conferences and made TV appearances. She was involved with 2 episodes of Alien Highway and also Alaska Triangle. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Not to mention the fact that you have information directly from the Roswell dig as well. Isn't that correct, Debbie?
Yeah, it sure is. I investigated that for about 20. Actually, I'm still. If Don Schmidt, the lead investigator on that, needs any help, he calls me to come over. He has some volunteers that he calls periodically, but I was there, I think last April, I believe. About a year ago.
So they're still digging up information or investigating the site, or what?
Well, still investigating the site and the witnesses, because the people that were involved in that sighting are getting older. The children that were involved, a lot of the original people involved in it have passed away, and you've got the children now that are, they're starting to get older, and a lot of the direct witnesses too are going ahead and telling. They said, what are you going to do to me? I'm like 80 or 90 or, in my late 80s or in my 90s, or, they're basically giving a lot of them deathbed I guess statements. And so there's a little bit more information, and it goes to the museum there. I think it's called the Roswell, it's the Roswell International Museum. And it goes to them, and then they pass it on to Don Schmidt, and then if it's anything that needs looking at, then he calls some of his volunteers in, and I'm one of them.
Okay. Did you there was a being in that crash, wasn't there?
Oh, several. I'm thinking that what we thought were that there were 2 different craft. It was during a storm, July 4th. And a severe lightning storm. At the time, we had a microwave radar, and we were Roswell was only one of, I believe, 2 places. They had it in Washington, D.C. too. But they turned on this radar. They saw something in the sky, and then between that and all the flashes of lightning and the severe storms they have out there, we believe 2 craft, collided and went in separate directions. There were 3 dead on one craft, 2 dead and 1 alive on the second craft. And then but there was so much misinformation that they weren't sure how many different craft we were, but for sure, I'm fairly sure there were 6 beings, 5 dead and 1 alive, mainly because I spoke with Glenn Dennis, who originally worked in the funeral home there, the Ballard Funeral Home, and he said that they had requested 5 child-size coffins. The base had.
Oh, so, wow.
That's kind of, I know it's a long, drawn out story, but there was one that apparently lived for a while, and the reason I got involved in Roswell, I was there, I think, the first time in 2000. I did the TV special. I was involved in it, Roswell, Final Verdict, and they had the software that they were using on video of some of the main witnesses, which would have been Walter Hott, the information officer, Glenn Dennis, who worked at Ballard Mortuary. They had Jesse Marcel Jr. and Jesse Marcel Sr. Jesse Marcel Sr. had passed away before I started, but started investigating. But I got to know Jesse Marcel Jr. very well, who unfortunately has also passed away. But they were using the software, and they could tell whether or not they were lying, with this new AI software. And I was one of the few people they could find that had actually met these people, so they couldn't talk to them directly.
Wow.
They found a few of us that had been around, and Don Schmidt was involved in that too. So there's still new evidence coming out with anything like that. It's a lot of the people, they were in their 20s, 30s, whatever. But I know D. Proctor, one of the children, he was one of the ranchers' grandchildren. He was, I think, 8 years old, 7 or 8. I think he was 8 years old, 9 years old. So I mean, he's also passed away. But there were some very young people. This was 1947. So
wow. So did they actually witness the ship itself at that time?
There were a lot of people. There was oh my gosh, there were some nuns that were on top of nuns that were on top of a building, and they saw the explosion impact.
Oh wow, okay.
And I did believe they were up there sneaking a smoke. This is 1947. The rancher Mac Brazel, of course, he and Dean Proctor, but Mac Brazel ran across the debris. So he was foreman of the Foster Ranch, and so he ran across the debris and then went to Corona to tell the sheriff. And he goes, "I don't like part of this," and sent him over to Sheriff Wilcox, hooked him up with Sheriff Wilcox, and I think that was let's see, and basically Roswell Army Air Force Base to investigate. And wow. They took him out. They found debris. They found bodies, and then the cover-up began.
I don't mean to be obsessed with bodies, but what are they human-like bodies? Are they?
That was
they show us these pictures.
And that was Colonel Blanchard, by the way. Colonel Blanchard and let's see. Well, Jesse Marcel Sr. Was involved in taking Mac Brazel out there to search for to find out where the rest of the debris was. They're gray, probably.
Oh, they were grays. That's what.
3.5.
The little ones.
Tall. Yeah, little grays with big eyes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because when you said the child-sized coffins, I immediately thought, oh, that must be the little grays.
Yeah. That okay. Was the beginning of the. You would think that was the beginning of the cover-up, but actually, the beginning of the cover-up was April of 1941 here in Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. There was also a craft that went down, and the FBI came in and covered it all up. But that's about 90 miles south of me, and that was Cape Girardeau. You could look it up online, all about that. But yeah, there was a craft there with 3 bodies. There were 2 dead, 1 alive, and the one that was alive, they shot and killed it. The area ranchers, they saw the thing crash, thought it was a plane. The fire department went out there. Nosy people went out there, and they found this one creature alive and shot and killed it. Then they felt bad, so they contacted Reverend Huffman from the local church, and he came over and gave it last rites. The aliens were buried in Cape Girardeau for a while. People kept stealing the headstone. I mean, this has been 1941. They were stealing the headstone, and finally they moved them. We're not exactly sure where, but I know that's still something that people are trying to investigate. Whatever happened to these bodies?
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I was thinking, what if we talk a little bit about your new book? Let me bring it up. let me bring up the picture that I have up. Share. Let me see there. Race, can you? Do I have to put that up?
I got a copy here.
Stop screen. Where is it? I don't know why it's not coming up. Did I?
There we go.
Did I? Help! Help!
Oh well, I
Wow.
can talk about it.
Yeah.
I wrote the book. It's whoop, there we go. Alien colonization of Earth's waterways. I'm a scuba instructor. I became a scuba diver the weekend after 9/11. Unfortunately, that really unnerved the FBI. They grabbed all the area files. They were worried about people bombing and running into all kinds of things, bridges and everything. So they were checking all the new divers and pilots and that type of thing. But I eventually became a scuba instructor. But being that I was underwater, and it was actually the same year, 2001, I became a scuba diver and a MUFON field investigator. So, of course, my interest kind of interacted, and I started collecting everything I could find on water. And during COVID, when everybody was locked down, I thought, what am I going to do with my time? And so I got all my information together, and it was the very first book I'd written. I'm actually working on number 3 and 4 right now. But I had so much information. It was just going to be a little book about water sightings, and it ended up being a big, thick reference book. But I have a couple personal sightings in there. I was on a cruise ship and actually caught a fly. That was one of the pictures I sent you.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't share them.
It's in the book. I believe it's also, I think I've got a website, debbiediver.com, and it's on there too.
Yes. I love the front picture too. It's beautiful.
But I got interested in water, and I gathered all this information together, but it was not only the sightings, it was how far back they went. I mean, there's a sighting in the Bible, we're talking about all the Tic Tac shaped craft. And I started doing research on that, and I found in the Bible, Zechariah 5, 1 through 2. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the beneath thereof 10 cubits. That's about 15 by 30 feet. So this is back from my St. James version of the Bible. Back in biblical times, they saw a Tic Tac. I mean, there's a description right there, a huge Tic Tac. Columbus had a sighting in 1492 while he was headed to San Salvador. He was 10 miles from San Salvador in the Bahamas. And I believe that was October of 1492. And he was on the Santa Maria with his son, Ferdinand. And it was just something that looked like a candle that was bouncing up and down into the distance. The sightings go way back. I mean, there's ancient sightings in Japan, but a lot more people that look into that type of thing. There's a lot of passages in the Bible where there's, something, a circle with a whirlwind circle up in the sky, and a person goes up through a beam of light. And there's a lot of that. So this has been going on a long time. I started putting this together because nobody was talking about water. Very few people. Carl Feint was at the time. And unfortunately, he passed away. I got to be friends with him before he passed away. I'd go to MUFON Symposiums, the conference, and we would sit and just talk, for 2-3 hours, comparing notes and theories about what was going on. But as I got into it, I thought we have to know what is underwater before we can start saying whether or not it's us or it's aliens. And so in that book, I put as many bases, bases that we have, submarine bases, that there's trenches underwater. There's, but there's a lot of activity that we do. Submarines. I know a lot of people that they'll go that maybe they go swimming or they go out on a boat and they'll go over not too far from the beach and see all these green lights underwater. Well, some of it's algae that's in the water, but a lot of it, I've had people that have turned in sightings and seen these green lights, and this is over in the Caribbean. And I know we go night diving and we've got our flashlights and it looks like it's green lights, underwater.
Oh, okay.
And I've been diving in the areas and I know where they go night diving. I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. But then again, my sighting, I had been all day in St. Martin on a Royal Caribbean ship, Explorer of the Seas. This was January 25th of 2006. And when you go diving off of a cruise ship, they take you right from the ship, take you to, with a boat, take you out diving. Sometimes a lot of times they'll take you to their dive shop and you get set up with your gear and everything. And then you go out and then they put you in the transport boat and they bring you back. You never get to go on the island. It was my second of 10 cruises. Everybody else, they get me back about 4:30. Everybody else has gone in and they're changing for dinner and, they're doing other things. They just come in, they're putting down their souvenirs and changing clothes. And I had been dropped off at the ship at 4:30. The ship didn't leave till 6:00. So I was already had my wet stuff taken off. I'm out there taking pictures as we leave St. Martin, headed to St. Thomas. And it got to be about 20 minutes out. And I thought, well, everything's small in the distance. There's nothing else. And sun wasn't quite setting yet. So I started to walk to the bow of the ship and I looked off to the side and I saw these two craft in the distance like this. And they were doing that, but they were doing this. And they were orange. And it looks like they got like little windows or something around.
Were those was that one picture that you sent? Yeah. That I can't seem to show right now.
Well, unfortunately, they were farther. They weren't that close, but they were farther out, and they were just maybe 15, 20 foot above the water. And I'm thinking the wind was what doing this. Well, I didn't even notice that there was a third one kind of in the clouds, kind of cloaked, and I didn't know if maybe they came out of the water and then they go up and kind of have clouds around them so they can't be seen, or they were coming down and that one was another one coming down. There's also something I didn't notice before either that looks like it's moving underwater. It could or could not be a wave. So anyway, my first reaction was to turn around and look behind me because I thought the second cruise, I thought this was something reflecting off of the ship. Someone had turned something on and go, oh, that's a reflection. I turned around and when I looked back, we were leaving them behind. And I thought, oh, and I ran and I got two pictures, one really good one. And then everything was plexiglass. So I got one really good one where there was no plexiglass. And then after that, I'm ducking under lifeboats and I'm running. And this ship was moving fast. So I really couldn't get another picture. Well, I went back to look at my pictures. And of course, my camera was set at January 25th of 2006. All my pictures from that moment on were set, I believe it was 11 days, 9 hours later. So every picture that I took after that, like at dinner or anything, was already well in, a week into February. And so wow. My camera reset. I asked to speak to the captain. I asked to speak to anybody. Nobody knew anything. I said, well, do you have like remote control things to entertain the tourists? They go, oh, we're not allowed to do it. It's against the law. They said, we know it's not a submarine. I go, well, no, it wasn't. I mean, they were hovering above the water. It wasn't a submarine. I had no idea what it was, but I kind of laughed about it because I thought, wow, here I am, an investigator. I spent all day underwater diving in St. Martin, and I get 20 minutes out in the ocean, and that's when I see the UFOs. So, what do you do? I was in the, wow. I guess technically I was in the right place at the right time. The first time underwater was true. Right place, wrong time. The second time was on the ship looking. And the thing is, nobody else was out there because back in 2006, they still had they had formal dinner, 6:30 and 8:30. We had the 8:30 dinner. So all of the people in my group were in showering, getting ready so you could take these formal pictures. And at 20 minutes after 6, everybody else was taking their formal pictures and in line to go in to eat at 6:30. So there was nobody out there but people that were picking up the crew, picking up chairs and towels and all that and getting it ready for the activities at night because they have music going and everything out by the poolside. So it was just me on this big old ship, Explorer of the Seas. There's over like 30 some hundred people on it. And I was the only one. The captain saw it. The crew, the
Oh,
crew,
good.
I know
Yeah.
they did. They couldn't have missed it.
It was specifically for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, and since then, I mean, I've had
Yeah.
a lot of different sightings. You can't be in this for 25 years. And, we set up sky watches. We have an active area, and I've got some really incredible things on video that have been going on in Missouri since 1973. So
Wow. So do you have pictures or video? Because I've seen it in movies, where a ship, a UFO, will come right out of the water. Like there's some kind of base underneath the water.
There's
an alien base, not necessarily, or would it be our bases? I'm sure we have some bases too, but
well, there's a lot of people that believe they're a combination of the two, that we've already made contact. Supposedly, I think it was 1950. Let's see, was that 1952? I believe that Eisenhower disappeared and ended up someplace, in southern. Let's see, was that Southern Cal? By Palm Springs, that down in there, Andrews Air Force Base, I believe. But anyway,
wow.
then they said that they were making contact then. I know that July of 1952 was the year that they had all the sightings around Washington D.C. I think they said there was something like 500 different reports of all the lights going by. So, but anyway, back to water, which is my expertise. Here in Missouri, we have 3 major rivers, and we have a lot of things coming in and out of and hovering over our rivers. And
Wow.
so we're investigating that. We've got unidentified lights. We've got them on video. We had one that we set up our night vision cameras, and it came this. We're still investigating it. We're still getting pictures, but it came across the highway, a major highway, and then crossed the road we were on. And this was it was on a January 5th. Actually, January 5th, 2 years in a row, we caught the same thing pretty much. Came right through the trees, halfway through trees without leaves, just a big bright ball of light. And just as it almost got over the top of us, it made a turn, and I'm believing it was heading west, but it made a turn off into the distance and got altitude. And when it got altitude, it turned on FAA red and green lights. The problem was that when the lights came on, going away from somebody, you have the red light on the left, the green light is on the right. It was opposite. So, and then I've had pilots look at that video and they go, well, that's an airplane. I said, we watched that light come right through the trees. It couldn't have been very big because it came through trees without leaves halfway up. So it wasn't the size of an airplane. I can't even believe it'd be the size of a car, but it seemed like as it came through the trees, it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this has something to do with time placement, I've been told. But then when it took altitude and it turns on the lights, and the only reason it would turn on FAA lights would be to fool us, but it turned them on the wrong side. And the most interesting part, that the same thing happened when they were investigating Piedmont in 1973, and Professor Harley Rutledge from the University of Missouri South in Cape Girardeau. He and his team were in Farmington, Missouri, and they were on a runway. And it's in his book. It's great. They're on the stationed or set up, staged at Farmington Airport. They watch this bright light come down, and it almost lands, and then it takes off, and then does the same thing and takes air. And in the book, the student is saying, Professor, it turned on FAA lights, green and red. They're on the wrong side. They got a picture, but it's in black and white, 1973. We have video in color. And then also, too, the lights are so close together, there's no room for anything in between.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So yeah, so there's still, this has been going on. There's reports. Buck Nelson used to have people down in the mountain. Let's see, Mountain Grove, or is it Mountain View? Yes, Mountain View area, way down south Missouri, and he used to hold UFO conferences just out in the fields back in the 1950s. And people
Yeah,
would
that's
come from
amazing.
all over the United States and set up tents and look for UFOs in Missouri in the 1950s.
Wow.
So we've got a
Now,
long history.
yeah, I've seen them. I've seen UFOs in Apache Junction, Arizona. I've
Really?
seen them in Sedona, Arizona, and I've seen them in outside of Pahrump, Nevada.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
I'm newly to this area, Arkansas. I haven't seen anything here yet, but I haven't been here very long, and it's
You
mostly
will.
been cloudy and rainy a lot. And I noticed they have a lot of statues of Sasquatch around here too.
Go over
That's
to
interesting.
Eureka, go hang out in Eureka Springs for a while and
Eureka
you'll see
Springs.
something.
Okay.
Yes, Eureka Springs, they have a great conference there every year. I believe it's in April. And Race will tell you. I was with Race. Well, I was with Race, and we saw something over the sky that was unidentified one year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I remember when I first saw them, the first time I saw them, that was in Apache Junction. I didn't know what it was. You see these balls of light, kind of flashing around, and sometimes I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like they're rolling. It was very unusual. But I saw night vision glasses when I was in Sedona, and we saw them, a whole bunch of them landing on a flat, kind of a flat mountaintop area.
I
It
mean,
was
it's
fascinating.
incredible. Most people just don't go out and look. And if you do this long enough, you can come. I mean, we have active areas, and like you said, Sedona is a very active area. But there definitely are. There's still things going on in Roswell. We've had some sightings in Roswell. I used to go down there and be a speaker at the festival every 4th of July for years. And I think it was 2016 and 17. My brother and I were down there, and we had a sighting both times. So we were just went out, headed out. We said, we're in Roswell. We're not going to stay in town and listen to, go into a restaurant or bar or something and listen to music. We're going to go out with our night vision cameras and take a look at the sky. And both times it happened to be a clear sky, and we had some great experiences.
Yeah, you definitely need a clear sky. There's a few times when I was disappointed about the sky when they were, things were being reported or whatever. But anyway, another area that's of interest that I hadn't really heard a whole lot about, and you were, I don't know if you were the consultant or what, for the Alaska Triangle.
Oh,
Is that like the Bermuda?
Well, yeah, they have a triangle. Gosh, I can't remember the name of the top town, but it comes way down over to Anchorage and across. But yes, down the middle of the state of Alaska. There's also a Michigan triangle, right across Lake Michigan, and there's also a big triangle. I think it's the Dragon. Oh gosh, put right out of my head. But there's one in Japan also, right off of the coast of Japan. But the one in Alaska, Travel Channel asked if I would, because I'm a scuba instructor and I investigate underwater UFOs, if I would give them some information. They had a lot of people down there that had sightings, so a few years ago they sent me to Alaska, and that was a lot of fun. They put all this big gear on me. I end up coming down this ramp. They put me in this little rubber boat, and they said, okay, you're going to go diving from there. And I'm in this rubber boat trying to get, but I just went kind of like backward out the boat. And they go, oh, you're going to get back in after we got done filming. And I said, no, I'm going in to shore. I told them, there's a lot going on, especially in, Prince William Sound. There's too many things underwater that are crashed. I mean, just unknown. I found unbelievable things just looking on Google Earth too. There's so much going on. There's military bases up north, secret bases. There's so many people that have sightings. The area that I went in after when we took a break, I was talking to before I got interviewed in the evening, and during the day I got done diving, and then there was a break time. But I talked to a local fisherman, and I asked them that they had seen what they looked like the Loch Ness monster was going around. A lot of people came up and were telling me that because it was a very small town and a whole bunch of camera crew people. So they were like, "What's going on?" And this gentleman was very nice. He was a fisherman, had just come in, professional fishing, and he said it was a Russian submarine. He said their boat saw it surfaced, and then it went down, and they followed it in, and then it came right into the bay right there. I mean, with restaurants and everything right around. And they said it was putting up its periscope and I guess looking around. They said that's what people saw. They thought it was a Loch Ness monster. And then this boat went back out. And he said that a lot of those Russian subs are a lot of young men in there, and they're out to sea for months, and so they'll do stuff that's just kind of fun. And he said every once in a while, I'd also heard that he said they'll throw the fishermen will throw like a waterproof bag full of gum and candy bars and cookies and stuff, and then the submarine will come up and they'll grab something and grab it and take it back under. But it's all they said it's just all friendly, that they know they're out there, we know they're out there. They're just on maneuvers way up there in Alaska. I mean, it's not that far from Russia. But he said, really. He said they're just bored kids. But however, there is a lot out there. I talked to a lot of the locals, and there's Mount Hayes. I mean, there's things that they said that the mountain just opens up. Things it'll just change. I guess, kind of like phase in and out. An opening will open and craft will go in or come out, and then it just closes back up again. I've heard that a lot. The underwater bases. I've done research on that. I've found the one thing that's incredible is we see the craft coming in and out of the water all the time. I mean, not all the time, but I mean, that's what you see when the government finally releases something. Is you're not seeing a craft coming out of a mountain. You're not seeing it coming, out through trees like we did. But the ones that are being picked up on video and released by the government are coming in and out of the water. And so I thought, what are they doing? Because they're going underwater. They're coming out of the water. Submarines, I've got a lot of reports where there's noise. They see the fast movers going by faster than anything that we have moving by on their sonar. I thought, where are they going? What's going on? Have people been abducted and taken underwater? So I'm working on a book now. I found 12 people so far that were abducted, and they were taken to an underwater base. And
my gosh. I've never heard that before.
Well, I thought, it's a perfect hiding place.
Underwater.
But, there's, oh my gosh, with MUFON, I think we have done reports from, I think it's over 12,000 people since MUFON was founded in 1969. At the minimum, that probably way more that have been abducted. People just really don't talk about it. The most famous are Betty and Barney Hill. I think it was 1962. So, I mean, that couple were taken. But if you do any research on that, that goes on a lot. And I thought, gee, I wonder if they're taking these people underwater. What's going on underwater? So I started doing the research, and I realized it was really hard to find a witness that remembered going underwater, because you think that, as an alien, as another being, a being from someplace else, or whoever is doing it, that if you take somebody, a lot of these people, when they get abducted, they remember. There's these grays or reptilians or somebody that are, oh my gosh, and the room changes color, and then they're gone. And then all of a sudden they're back. And sometimes they see the room change back. So they remember leaving and coming back. The ones that know they've been abducted, they have regression therapy, and they remember what happened while they were there. No one remembers the trip back and forth. And why would that be? Because if they remembered the trip back and forth, you would know where they're being taken, and you'd know where the bases are. You'd know whether they're being taken in something that was in orbit above us or in the water or camouflaged in a mountain. So if you're going to erase a memory, you erase the memory of them going and coming back. So I did find 12 people that remembered going underwater. They remember it coming, going into the water and the splash and seeing water going by, and it was really
so
hard.
there apparently were windows on the craft then that they
Yeah.
could see this happening.
There were windows, and one of them was the lady that was taken out of the 12-story apartment building. Bud Hopkins has a whole book on that, and that she went into the Hudson River underwater. And so, I mean, that's
the Hudson River.
Yeah, that's a really famous
Wow.
one. But there was another gentleman that was taken underwater in California, and then I mean, there's a dozen of them that I've come up with, and it's incredible. But I thought, why not? If you're going to take somebody, you're going to take them someplace where you can't be seen. They come in and out of the water because all they have to do is come down really quick, go in the water, and then you can't see them anymore. I've been diving.
Are they?
I've been diving in a place. Okay, there's a place that's about 15 foot deep right off of Cozumel. It's a beach. They have a plane that they've crashed in the water in the 1970s for a movie. Just a little 2-engine in the front, little Piper Cub type. And the cruise ships park right there in that area. You can be on the top of the cruise ship, on the top deck of a cruise ship, and look down the water, and you can maybe see bubbles, or you can see their dive flag. You can't see this plane, and it's only about 15 foot deep. That's how easy it is to hide something underwater. And this is in Cozumel, where the water, when I'm underwater as a diver, I can look up and see the water moving back and forth when I'm 75 feet deep. But if you're on the surface and you're looking down because of the glare and the clouds, the shadows from the clouds or the glare from the sun, you can't see underwater. Shallow,
Wow.
you can't see underwater.
Yeah.
I know. Easy place to hide.
So, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be that deep? Or how deep would that have to be? If 15 feet, that's not that deep, is it?
No, 15 feet isn't that deep. Some people have 12-foot roofs, 12-foot ceilings, I mean, in their house. So 15 foot wasn't all that deep. And you can't be on the surface and look down. Now, if you're snorkeling, you put your face in the water, you're just a couple inches under the water. And now you can see snorkeling, because when you snorkel, you're not on the surface. Your mask is actually a little bit underwater, and then you can see it. But if you're just on the top and you're floating and swimming and you look down, you can't see it. 15 feet. Can you even imagine what's 2.5 miles down? Because the average trench, the trenches, the Earth has trenches, and there are these spaces in between our tectonic plates. And they average about, the Mariana Trench is 7 miles deep, but most of the trenches average about 2.5 miles. They average 2.5 miles. Be a great place to build a base down there, wouldn't it? Right at the edge of one of these trenches down that deep. I wouldn't want to be in the trench, because if the tectonic plates moved, it seemed like it would
shift.
Yeah.
Might not be a safe base.
No.
Wow.
That's why it's so fascinating. Water is so fascinating. It's the one we've only explored less than 5% of our waterways on Earth. This is according to NOAA.
Less than 5%.
70% of the Earth is water, and we've only explored less than 5%. A lot of mystery.
Wow. That's amazing. Holy smokes. Yeah. Well, there was another thing that I wanted to ask about the in the Alaska Triangle. You also talked about possible creatures and prehistoric monsters in that area. Is that the mysteries of Ketchikan and the Wendigo? Is that
Yeah, there's a lot of there are mysterious creatures there. It's kind of I don't research creatures as much as I mean I research water. Uh,
Right.
Ken Gerhardt does he's very good at investigating creatures, and he's got some great books on them that I have. But I kind of stick. Margie Kay also investigates creatures. I kind of stick with what's going on underwater. I do though. Back in I don't know if I have time to talk about it. I wanted to make sure I had the date exactly right. I wrote it down here. I have so many dates, but back in Lake Baikal. Okay, there it is, 1982. Okay, I thought so. Lake Baikal, 1982, and that's a lake in Russia, and it's the the largest freshwater lake in the world. There's been sightings coming in and out of that. They have reported it for years and are still reporting some strange things coming in and out. But in 1982, the equivalent of our Navy SEALs, the Russian equivalent of our Navy SEALs, 7 divers. They were training underwater in that lake, doing just some underwater maneuvers. They were down at 165 feet deep. Now, as a recreational instructor, my limit is without special training. It's 130 feet is what we do. We do 60 feet, but then your maximum's 130. Then you have to have special gases, and then it involves a whole lot of other things. They were down at 165 feet training, and they came across and can you imagine how dark it is down there at 165 feet?
Yeah,
So,
how do you see anything?
So they had to have had some type of lights. There were 7 divers. And they came across in the dark. All of a sudden, their lights shine, and there's 4 aliens, 10 foot tall, big, tall, like a gray alien, how they described them. All they had on was a helmet and a breathing device on their mouth, no tank or anything. And they are that deep, and the shine these lights are like, they had one in the front, 3 to the back, so you could tell the one in the front, maybe the leader, I'm assuming. So what did these guys do? Of course, they got the heck out of there as fast as they could, which wasn't all that fast. At 165 feet, they probably had to come up, 50, 60 feet, and then do some, safety time, decompression. Then you come up a little more. To come down from that deep, depending on how far down or how long they were there, it may have taken them a couple hours or more to be able to surface, knowing that right underneath them in the dark water, they could grab their legs or anything, are these
oh my God,
10 foot tall creatures. Well, then they report it, and their superiors said, yeah, we want to catch one. So a few days later, these 7 divers go back down again to the same spot. And sure enough, they come across these aliens. But this time, I don't know, one of their superiors told them they wanted to catch it, and they had a net. So 2 of them had a net, and they were going to try and throw it over the top of this alien. Now, I'm thinking if it took them at least somewhere between 2 and 3 hours, at least 2 hours to surface, what were they going to do with this alien? They were going to 10 foot tall with a net. These 2 guys that
just thinking about underwater like that, putting a net on something, that seems like that'd be pretty hard to do.
Right. They'd have to get over the top of it and try, especially 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
Maybe they would try and go up and come over it. How they figured they were going to do this, I have no idea. But
and they're just going to stand there and let you do it, right?
Right. And then how are they going to get it to the surface? Now we have what they call lift bags, and then you can fill one with air, and then it'll take something to the surface. Well, if it's something that's comfortable down there underwater at that depth, when it'll kill it when it gets to the surface. I don't think maybe they cared. But even with that, maybe they had a boat at the top. They didn't say a whole lot about that. Well, anyway, so when they went to throw the net over, the alien that was in the front, remember there was 1 in the front, 3 in the back, put its hand out, and when it did, all 7 divers immediately went to the surface. When they hit the surface, 3 of them died almost immediately. The other 4,
because of compression.
Right, wow. your blood basically boils is a good description of what happens to you. The other 4 divers, they took them and put them in decompression chambers, except they had 2 and only 1 was working. So they stuffed the other 4 in one decompression chamber. Only 1 survived. There was a big hearing about it, and they finally decided that there's another lake not too far from there that they wouldn't allow training in either one of those lakes anymore. But I have several reports where they have had submarines. There was a research submarine with a lot of windows. Those research submarines, they want to see out. They have a lot of windows. And they saw pretty much the same description, 10-foot tall, big gray alien at 1,200 feet swimming by. There's another one a gentleman in Russia was in the Baltic Sea, and he was shark hunting. He was the local shark hunter. I think it was a B. Borovikov. He was a local shark hunter, and he had 2 of them come up on him. They came from like underneath in the dark, and he said they had big buggly eyes, and then they kind of swam by him and went back underwater again. So he was underwater diving, trying to shoot shark. So in and around, I also have a story from the early 1940s of 4 children that were swimming in Russia. They dove off of a bluff, and when they went underwater, they saw a cave, and they went into the cave, and came up into the cave where there was air, and they found bones, and they said the bones, I believe they said, were 7 foot, at least 7 foot. They said they were huge, great big bones that they found underwater. So in and around Russia, something that there are beings living underwater that are 10 foot tall, and they're big grays. And this is there's strange sounds. So that, yes, there are. That's why the name of the book is Alien Colonization. They always say, "Oh, the visitors." Well, I looked it up after you go someplace and you set up house. You're not a visitor anymore. You're a resident.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so they're not the visitors. They're living here, and they probably have been for a long time, but they're living so deep underwater in places that we don't have access to. That's why they're coming in and out of the water.
Wow.
I know.
Wonder what kind of
fascinating.
It's amazing. Any kind of sense of whether they're, negative or.
Well, it seems to me if they have been here, and there's reports of a tic tac in biblical time, if they wanted to wipe us out, they would have done it by now. If you've got the technology, if they've got this technology, and there's documentation of them in the Bible, it's a couple thousand years, or that more than 2,000 years. I mean, what at this point, I mean, AD, that's 2025 years right there. Then the Sumerians, that goes back 4,000 years. I believe that if they wanted to do anything, they wanted to wipe us out, they could have done it by now. There's a lot of races of them out there, different, you have the Nordics that are tall, that look humanoid, blonde hair. Then you've got the reptilians and a couple different sizes of grays and insectoid. And
so now we have them in inner Earth. We have them in our oceans and our waterways, just our plain old freshwater ways too. Like the lake you were talking about in Russia, that's freshwater, right?
That's freshwater lake. And then to here, we're doing a lot of research in and around. We have a lot of lakes. Missouri is also the cave state. And the research that we're doing now and how we're tracking these unknown lights and these sightings, because every time somebody has a sighting, we have basically what you call like a mini war room here at my office. And, I go down the hallway, and then I have another little war room with a computer. We have maps on the wall. We've got dots where the sightings are, and the areas we're dotting where the most sightings are, so that's where you go and you set up a sky watch. The areas are in and around our rivers, the Missouri River, Merrimack River, Mississippi River. And then caves. We're also finding that it's around caves too. And then my brother and I did research, of course, the 37-degree latitude line, the alien highway, basically across the country, 37 degree. But most of the sightings that we have here in Missouri, a good portion of them are right along the 30. You have the 37 degree latitude line in the middle, and then you've got 38. That's where I live at the 38. And then you've got 36, but the center line is the 37 degree latitude line. And a good portion of our sightings are right in that area in the state of Missouri.
Wow, I wonder why that might be. There must be a reason for that. Because if it tends to concentrate in one area, I would think. I don't know.
Margie Case, she's the Missouri MUFON Assistant State Director, and she's also now just recently became a MUFON Regional Director. But she's been investigating ley lines and trying to find. So I kind of stick to the water, but her expertise is the creatures and ley lines and that type of thing. Missouri, we have 15 investigators, so we all kind of have our specialty. I concentrate on the water, and then we've got someone that does our photo video, who's also a geologist, and then we have someone who pretty well takes in my area the triangle shaped craft, and then we have people that have remote viewing skills, and oh my gosh, we have people that are good at oh my gosh, how would I put it? I just, the sciences more. I mean, I'm kind of the sciences, but we all have our little jobs,
areas of expertise. Yeah.
Oh, right. So when we
That
go on
makes
an investigation, there could be the one investigation. There were 5 of us, and 2 of them went in and interviewed the witnesses in separate rooms, and so they weren't comparing notes. And then, I went out and I'm checking electromagnetic field radiation, all of that type of thing. And then we had someone else that's videotaping. We have our lab, Lynn Mann. The lab is also here where I'm located too. Missouri MUFON is the founder of the MUFON lab. And so Lynn will go out on these investigations, and she'll gather soil samples and vegetation, and take, fingerprint samples, and, and anything else that there'll be something that's on the trees that wasn't there before. So, here we have a lab technician. When we do a case, we do a very thorough job of it. We work a case like a police detective would with forensic evidence, analyzing forensic evidence, taking video and pictures, taking the witness's video and going frame by frame by frame and looking up. Mel does a lot of that. And then we have a gentleman, Larry from Illinois, that helps him.
Why don't you give us your website again? We got to wrap up here shortly.
Yes. Probably the website, you can probably learn the most by going to, I was going to say MissouriMUFON.org, but I think Margie's changing that. Debbie Diver, Debbie, Debbii Diver, @.com. And then also, if you want any more information, you can email me at MUFON Diver, MUFON Diver, @gmail.com. And then if you're interested in my book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, it's for sale on Amazon. And it's in hardcover, in color, soft color in color, and then also in black and white. Usually when you look at it, they have the hardcover first. You're like, how much is that? But then it says more options, and then there's soft cover. I know, I looked at it and I went, what? And then it says more options, and then it is available in soft cover and in black and white and in color. So they got 3 versions of it. And if you buy a book, email me, and I'll send you a little sticker that's signed, it's personalized, and I'll just mail it to you so you can put it inside the book.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I can see if we can put that in the description of the video when it's completed too. That's very possible. Well, I have just been fascinated by what you have discovered and what you do. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show and letting people know about this, because what a great place to hide.
Oh, absolutely.
I never would have suspected it until I saw the title of your book, and I went, that's interesting.
Yeah, as a kid, I grew up in Arizona, and so I moved here to my junior year of high school to Missouri, and then now I've been here ever since. But I never would have put the two together had I not become a scuba diver and a MUFON field investigator the same year. Ambitious. Yeah, ambitious year.
It was meant to be.
Meant to
It's
be.
your area of expertise. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I believe we are supposed to wrap it up at this point in time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Grace?
You're such a joy. To
Oh,
talk.
it was delightful. Thank you. I learned a lot. That's always wow.
Oh, and that's just scratched the surface of what's out there. It's incredible. There's so much to know. So little time.
So yeah, really, because one of the things I didn't really get to ask you was that the energies on the planet have been changing a lot, and I was wondering how it might be affecting the waters, if there's any notice at all.
I haven't noticed. Maybe some of the more hurricanes, the water's getting a little bit warmer, the jet stream. But then we had a whole bunch of hurricanes in one year, and then not, it's seasonal. Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Okay, Race, did we do our 2-minute wrap up?